Is keeping reptiles bad? No, it's not, and I'm here to tell you 5 reasons why keeping reptiles in captivity is good. I'm Brandon, this is a pet, and welcome to BJG Reptiles. Reason 1. Reptiles generally, in captivity, outlive their relatives in the wild. In the wild, they live much shorter lives. In captivity, royal pythons, like Pep here, can get 30 plus years old. In the wild, they might not even see the first year. This is due to many things that can be avoided in captivity, such as illness, evading predators, starvation, and many other reasons. In captivity, all of these things can be avoided or at least helped. For instance, if a snake is terminally ill, we can help it live out its last days in health and not in a scary, harmful environment. Reason 2, quality of life. Now, what I mean by this is that in the wild, reptiles fend for themselves. In captivity, we can assist them, we water them, we feed them, we look after them, we clean them. For instance, in the wild, an animal with stuck shed, like a Pep here, would have to cope with that stuck shed. Chances of it getting it off are pretty slim. It might have to wait until a full shed or until he catches himself on something. In the wild, they may struggle with many of these things mentioned, and in captivity there's no reason for this. They will live a happier life in captivity, providing they are being looked after. Reason 3, morphs. Now I say this because originally all morphs from the wild. So this is a pinstripe royal python. In the wild, this will have originated somewhere, but in captivity, they are common, which is very, very nice. Now, the reason I'm talking about morphs today is that in captivity, they're safe, they're pretty, they're beautiful pets, but in the wild, things like albinos or leucistics, or even stuff that's bright like a yellow belly, royal python, or even maybe something like a charcoal corn snake, or maybe a different hognose morph, anything like that, will be hunted and killed a lot easier than something that is a normal, that is bred for the wild with its camouflage and other techniques to keep itself alive. Now in captivity, we can keep these stunning animals, we can breed them into different combos, and we can keep them alive and well. They don't have to worry about dying in the wild. Reason 4, illness. Now the reason I'm talking about illness is because in the wild, when a reptile is ill, the chances of them dying are a lot higher than when they are not ill. Now a lot of illnesses can be prevented, such as respiratory problems, even neurological problems can be bred out of the animals, and stuff like metabolic bone disease and things like that. The animals can live with that in captivity. Granted, they shouldn't have to, but they can. Now, another reason that I talk about illnesses is illnesses that would affect with movement and the capability of eating would severely harm the reptile's chances of living in the wild, whereas in captivity they can all live. With a few exceptions, obviously. Now, in the wild, they will die. There's no argument for this, they will die. I don't know of a living case of a wild animal that has neurological problems like corkscrewing in spider ball pythons, or the neurological problems that come along with the jaguar morph in carpet pythons, etc, etc, etc. Now in captivity, these animals can be given a good quality of life and they won't have to die. Now reason 5, this is the best reason, conservation. So for instance, in America and Africa, there are a lot of conservation groups and conservation being done in individual people's hobbies. Off the top of my head, Chandler's Wildlife works with a lot of alligators and crocodiles, or crocodilians, and a lot of that is conservation. Now, conservation is important because there are a lot of species in the world that are going extinct, mostly due to humans, but there are some other factors to consider as well. Now, I can't remember the exact name, but there is a tortoise that is completely extinct in the wild, other than, I believe, one region. And there's also axolotls, which are completely extinct in the wild, other than invasive bits, other than from, I believe, one lake in Mexico. I could be wrong with that. There are several animals that are only in captivity. And this is important because we can learn about them and we can keep their species alive. Now, granted, if humans didn't interfere, a lot of these animals would be alive. For instance, the orangutan is endangered because of us. It's our fault. Another thing about conservation is that some animals, such as crocodilians, which are further away from being tamed, can actually be hatched and put straight into the wild. Now, obviously, this isn't always done because there are some complications in some areas, but it can be done, and that is the important bit. This can actually keep the animals from the brink of extinction and can actually bring them back into the wild. Now, like I said, a lot of times this doesn't happen, but it means that in captivity, the animal can still be alive. It can be examined, it can be learnt about. And with the way science is coming along, they could be brought back into the wild. And that is an awesome, awesome idea. Now, obviously, this is a bad example of a snake that is going extinct because there's an abundance. There is a lot of them in the wild. Now, that has been my top 5 reasons. There are several more reasons, but these are, in my opinion, 5 of the top reasons to keep reptiles and even other exotic animals in captivity. I'm Brandon, this has been a Pep, and thank you for watching if you've got this far. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I shall see you next time.